Now it's time to welcome Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice, Blue Mountains and Penrith for our weekly finance segment. And today we're going to be looking at the key business measures for small business that were announced in the 2015 federal budget. Good afternoon, Rob.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rob. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So, Rob, the cut in company tax rate from 30 to 28.5% for businesses and non-incorporated businesses earning below $2 million. Is this a significant reduction in the greater scheme of things, and what are some of the key economic implications here?
Yeah, I think it's very significant. I think it's good news for small business. It's been flagged and discussed for some time. And I like the way that they have not only cut the company tax rate, but there's also the opportunity for unincorporated organisations, that is sole traders and partnerships, to have a benefit, and also those who derive an income from family trust distributions. So for those that aren't in a company structure, there's a tax rebate of up to $1,000 a year. So that's I think that's good too. I suppose when you look at it, it's a big spend for the government. It's going to be $3.3 billion over 4 years, which is massive. So it's actually going to release $3.3 billion into the economy over a 4-year period. That's at a macro level. At a micro level, it's not a lot of cash for the average business. So, but it still is cash. It's better in our pockets or in our bank accounts.
Have you done any, I'm sorry to put you on the
yeah,
spot, but have
sure.
you done any calculations? So a 1.5%, so let's say a business is turning
absolutely.
over so business A is turning over $200,000.
Yep.
What will that actually mean?
Well, it's more about profit.
Yeah.
So for business, let's say most company accounts that I look at for clients might be earning probably around 100,000 might be an average, maybe a bit less. So let's say if it was 100,000, then the tax savings only going to be $1,500 a year. So at a micro level, it's not a lot of cash. But I think what this is really about is it's trying to give this. The last budget was a scare campaign, and so it undermined confidence. It meant that we kept our money in our bank accounts. We weren't going to invest in our businesses. Whereas I think this is about trying to stimulate spending as a strategy to stimulate growth of our economy and to give this sense of plenty. And I think that's really what it's about. So individually, it's not going to release a lot of money, but what does it do psychologically and emotionally? And when you're dealing with markets and with consumer confidence and business confidence, it's emotion, isn't it? And it's how do we feel as a in response to these sorts of announcements? How's this going to impact us? And I think it will have an impact. I think we'll have a positive impact.
Well, Labor talked about getting it down to 5% over the is that doable? Getting it down to 25%, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty hard to pull off, because that'd be an awful lot of money. But I think it is putting something back in businesses. Your other question there, the other part of the question is what impact that has on the economy, and again looking at that at a macro level, how's it, and together with a whole lot of other measures. My concern is, and this is probably the concern for a lot of people, is how do we reconcile an announcement 12 months ago in the budget repair, the emergency budget, or what was it called? It was the budget emergency budget. And the story we were sold was that we're in a terrible situation and we're going to have to cut spending. And of course it wasn't bought by the Senate. There's all the issues there, and the government's popularity went down, and now they've flip-flopped, and it's like that was plan A and it hasn't worked. And so now they've gone to plan B, which is to spend a lot of money, which economically it is sound economics, but it also creates some concerns and some issues about the ongoing budget deficit. And now they've projected 11 years of budget deficits. Well,
as people have said, it's not an economic document, it's a political document, this budget.
Well, I think that's true. It has made the government more popular. And for most of us, we're not really that concerned about the macroeconomic issues that it creates. It's more about what's this mean for me? And the bottom line for most of us is, wow, this is going to give me some more money to spend, some more money in my own pocket.
Although a bit of diversion, I don't think they're going to get their revision to PPL through, to be honest. I think the Senate will knock that one back.
And of course, this still has to get through the Senate.
And that's stupid. That's some dumb politics, to be honest.
And look, there's going to be some of those sorts of things there. But I think I'm concerned, I guess, about that deficit, 11 years worth, and the fact that this big spending campaign is going to create some issues there, and with changes in our demographics with an ageing population. So they're the
yeah,
concerns.
but look, also, the deficit is something that needs to be managed, not
Yep,
necessarily gotten rid of as such. And there's a big difference here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, Rob, our second question, the tax write-off of up to $20,000 on any single item of equipment or machinery for a small business, and actually it goes broader than that as well, for the next 2 years is designed to spur revenue and consumer spending. Do you think it'll do that in a sustainable way?
Sustainable might be the key word there. I think it is.
I threw that one in.
Yeah. Look, I'm actually surprised at how many people are talking about this. And I had a call, for example, I've had calls in the last week from clients who are getting ready to spend and wanting to borrow to spend. So this is, I have no doubts that this is going to result in a big spend by businesses, and even to the point of people coming up with schemes. I don't know how legitimate they are, but I have one person who was coming up with a scheme of buying a new car and breaking the invoice amounts down so that you might have different parts of the car, so that it was all under $20,000. Now, I don't know how legitimate that is, but people are starting to think. And one person who had been thinking of getting into business for quite a few years, and she rang me during the week and said, I'm going to do it now because I'm going to be able to write off my setup expenses. So I think it is. I think it is going to stimulate the economy. Is it sustainable? That's a question, because this is going to cost the government a lot of money.
Yeah, it will. But I suppose also combined with low interest rates at the moment.
Yep, that's right.
It's a
big
incentive.
That's what makes it really attractive.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are looking at borrowing to actually spend this money.
Yeah, pretty big incentive. All right. Well, let's have another music break, shall we?
I think so.
All right. This is Fleetwood Mac with Rhiannon.
And that was Rhiannon from Fleetwood Mac, and we're back with Rob Lees. Rob, our last key issue is the granting of tax concessions for employee share schemes. Employees who are issued shares or options will generally not be liable to pay upfront tax on those shares or options, and there will also be some capital gains tax concessions as well. What will be the key implications for small business from these changes?
Again, I think these are very significant changes. What we've had up till now is, if you imagine a company that has employees, and part of their employment package is options to purchase shares. So if they reach certain KPIs, they will be granted those options, and they can exercise that option at a later date, and that's when they would purchase the shares. The way it works at the moment is they are liable for tax at the point of vestment, which is when the option is granted. Even though it might be a few years before they actually exercise the option and purchase the shares, which is really unfair. So the change is now that is going to be taxed at a different point, rather than at the point of vestment, at the point of when that economic benefit passes. That is when they purchase the shares. So that really makes the whole thing far more attractive to businesses who want to bring in quality staff. And it's actually very important, I think, for smaller businesses that are wanting to develop a transitional plan. You want to attract and retain valuable employees rather than having them leave and go elsewhere. And so these sort of packages are very, very important, the sort of thing that I'm looking at in my business. But this tax, the way it has been taxed, has really been a turn-off. So I think that's great. And the other thing that's been a significant change is, up until now, if you want to change your business structure, again, for me, I'm in a family trust. If I want to change to a company structure, I'd incur capital gains tax, and that's now been removed. So it actually makes it easier for businesses to change structures and bring in these kinds of arrangements, which I think is great news. Personally, I welcome it, and it's going to be a great benefit to me and my business, and I'm sure many other businesses.
Yeah, and particularly that point about your employees and giving them some ownership in the business. Great move.
Absolutely.
I think it was Ricardo Semler who ran a company called Bendix.
Semtel, I think it was.
Semtel, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. But everybody in the company owned a part of the business. Very smart move. They had a vested interest in the business itself.
All right, Rob. Thank you for coming on the show. You're actually going to be in Hawaii next
Hawaii
week.
next
So we'll have
week. Oh, I'm
Tim
looking forward to
Heyman,
that.
and we're going to be
That's
talking about
right. Yeah.
superannuation. So that's Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains and Penrith, and you can contact them on 4739 9749 or visit their office at 3/13 Hope Street, Blaxland.